I wake up before the sun, and something is already wrong. The room is quiet, yet my chest feels tight. Not fear I can name, not tiredness I can explain, pressure without a face, resistance without a sound. This is how it starts. Evil does not announce itself with noise. It waits for the morning, when the mind is unguarded, when the body is still slow, when faith has not yet spoken. That is when it tries to stop you. I learned this in the wilderness. Every morning carried a test, not because the night was dangerous, but because the day demanded movement. Evil hates movement. It hates obedience. It hates mornings where destiny takes its first breath. That is why the attack comes early, before clarity, before prayer, before courage remembers its own name. You think this weight you feel is personal. It is not. It is strategic. Something wants you delayed, distracted, discouraged before you even stand up. Because if you move today, something irreversible begins. If you move today, chains you never saw start breaking. And the enemy knows it. Psalm 23 was never written for calm afternoons. It was born for mornings like this. When the valley is not around you, but inside you. When the threat is not visible, but persistent. When the question is not if God exists, but if you will trust his lead before understanding his plan. I am Moses, and I know what it means to wake up surrounded by impossibilities. Desert ahead, complaints behind, enemies watching. And still, the shepherd speaks first. Not comfort, direction, not explanations, authority. If you are listening to this now, it is not coincidence. You were supposed to hear this before the day tries to own you. Stay. What happens next decides how far evil is allowed to go today. The morning attack. Why evil tries to stop you before you move. I noticed something early in the desert. The hardest battles did not happen at night. They happened before the first step of the day. Before decisions. Before obedience. Evil is not interested in destroying you while you sleep. It wants you awake and paralyzed. Every morning there was pressure, not always danger, but discouragement. A whisper saying, "Not today." A weight saying, "Wait." A doubt saying, "You are not ready." That is how movement is killed without a fight. Because if you never move, nothing needs to stop you. The enemy understands timing better than most people understand faith. He knows that once you take the first step under God's direction, the rest of the path begins to open. So the goal is simple. Stop the first step. Delay the obedience. Drain the strength before action is born. I watched it happen with the people around me. Fear in the morning, complaints before progress, longing for Egypt before trusting the promise. They were not weak. They were targeted at the right moment. You feel it too. That unexplained resistance when you wake up, that heaviness before prayer, that desire to stay still even when you know you must move. This is not laziness. It is opposition, trying to disguise itself as logic. Psalm 23 confronts this attack directly. The Lord is my shepherd means I do not decide the pace. I follow it. When he leads, I move even if fear follows, especially if fear follows. If you stand still today, nothing changes. If you move, everything reacts. Heaven responds, hell resists. And that is why this morning matters more than you realize. Do not rush past this moment. Recognize the attack, and you already weaken it. Movement is closer than you think. The Lord is my shepherd is not comfort, it is command. I did not survive the wilderness because I felt safe. I survived because I was guided. Comfort never moved a people through a desert. Direction did. When I say, "The Lord is my shepherd," I am not describing a feeling. I am declaring authority over chaos. A shepherd does not ask the sheep how they feel. He decides where they must walk if they want to live. This is where many fail in the morning. They wait to feel ready. They wait for peace before obedience. They wait for confidence before movement. That pause is costly. Because guidance does not follow emotions. Emotions follow obedience. I learned this while leading people who wanted reassurance instead of direction. They asked why. They asked how long. They asked what if. The shepherd answered none of that. He moved, and those who followed lived. Those who hesitated stayed stuck between promise and regret. Psalm 23 removes negotiation from faith. I shall not want does not mean I will lack nothing emotionally. It means I will not be without direction even when clarity is absent, even when the terrain makes no sense, even when the morning begins with pressure instead of peace. The command of the shepherd is subtle but absolute. Walk now. Trust now. Follow even when understanding arrives later. Evil hates this posture because it cannot control what is already surrendered. Confusion loses power when obedience is immediate. You may feel today is fragile, that your footing is uncertain, that one wrong step could cost too much. That fear is exactly why the shepherd leads instead of explains. If he explained everything, fear would still argue. But when he leads, fear must follow behind you, not stand in front of you. This is the turning point. You either treat Psalm 23 as poetry that calms you, or as authority that moves you. One comforts, the other transforms. If you are still listening, it is because something inside you knows you cannot afford another morning led by hesitation. The command has already been given. The question is whether you will follow it before comfort arrives. You walk. Evil follows. Why God never promised the absence of enemies. I discovered something unsettling the moment we began to move forward. The danger did not disappear. It repositioned itself. Many expect faith to remove enemies. Faith does something far more threatening. It exposes them. When you walk under the shepherd's lead, evil does not vanish. It follows, watches, waits, hoping you will look back and lose focus. This is where many misunderstand Psalm 23. The table prepared in the presence of enemies is not symbolic comfort. It is provocation. God feeds you while resistance watches. He strengthens you where fear expects collapse. This is not protection through distance. It is authority through proximity. I saw it in the desert. The people feared enemies they could name, but the real danger was invisible pressure trying to make them stop. Complaints, doubts, nostalgia for bondage. Those voices followed us just like enemies follow you today. Criticism, envy, subtle accusations. People who underestimated you and still expect you to fail. Evil follows because it cannot lead. It reacts because it has no future. When you walk, it adjusts. When you stop, it advances. That is why the shepherd keeps you moving. Motion keeps authority in front of fear. Stillness gives fear permission to speak louder. There is a moment when you realize the presence of enemies is not a sign of failure. It is confirmation of direction. If nothing resisted you, nothing would be threatened by your obedience. The pressure you feel today is proof that something is shifting because of your movement. This is the plot twist most never see. God never promised a quiet path. He promised a guided one. And guidance does not avoid confrontation. It controls it. While enemies observe, God prepares strength, clarity, and endurance inside you. If you are surrounded today, do not retreat. Eat, receive, stay aligned. What follows you cannot overtake what leads you. Evil watches, but the shepherd governs, and governance always outlasts resistance. The rod and the staff, what protects you and what corrects you. I used the rod before I understood it. I lifted the staff long before I trusted it. At first I thought both were weapons against enemies. I was wrong. One confronts what rises against you, the other confronts what rises inside you. And if you do not understand the difference, you will misread what God is doing in your morning. The rod protects. It pushes danger back. It draws boundaries evil cannot cross. When pressure surrounds you, When attacks feel relentless, when fear tries to rush your decisions, the rod speaks without noise. You do not see it move, but resistance feels it. This is why some threats never reach you. You think you were lucky, you were guarded. The staff, however, feels different. It does not strike enemies, it redirects you. It presses where pride hides. It nudges when your path is slightly off. And that is where many panic. They assume discomfort means abandonment. They assume correction means rejection. That lie has ruined more destinies than open attacks ever did. I watched people confuse discipline with danger. The moment God adjusted them, they resisted. The moment He slowed them, they complained. The moment He corrected them, they doubted His presence. But the staff only touches what belongs to the shepherd. Correction is not a threat. It is proof of ownership. Evil wants you wounded. God wants you aligned. One attacks to destroy, the other corrects to preserve. The fear you feel when things do not go exactly as planned may not be opposition. It may be guidance preventing a fall you cannot yet see. This is where maturity begins. When you stop asking, "Why does this hurt?" and start asking, "What is this protecting me from?" When you stop resisting redirection and start trusting the shepherd's vision over your emotions. If you accept the rod but reject the staff, you remain defended but unstable. If you accept both, you become untouchable and steady. That balance is what carries you through mornings when confusion tries to sound like logic. Do not fear the hand that corrects you today. That same hand is the reason you are still standing. Goodness and mercy will follow you, even today. I once believed goodness waited at the end of the journey, that mercy belonged to the future, to the moment after everything was resolved. The wilderness corrected me. Goodness does not wait ahead. It follows. Mercy does not arrive later. It pursues, even when the morning starts heavy, even when evil tried to stop you before you moved. This is the part many miss. You do not walk toward goodness. Goodness walks behind you, cleaning what fear tries to contaminate, healing what resistance tries to bruise, restoring what pressure tries to steal. You may not see it, but every step forward leaves a trail of mercy, undoing what almost broke you. This changes everything. You are not surviving the day alone. You are not exposed. You are not late. You are escorted. Evil may attempt to block the front, but it cannot touch what God assigns to follow you. Regret loses ground. Shame loses its voice. The past loses authority the moment you keep walking. This is where decision becomes unavoidable. Either you continue moving under the shepherd's command, or you turn back and give fear permission to rewrite your story. There is no neutral morning. Every day decides something, and today is not ordinary. You felt the resistance because the release is close. Now you must respond. Write this prophetic phrase in the comments, not as routine, but as agreement. The Lord leads me, and nothing stops me today. Write it with intention. Words establish territory. What you declare aligns what follows you. If this message reached you, do not keep it to yourself. Subscribe to this channel and like this video. This is not about numbers. It is about making sure this word continues reaching sons and daughters who wake up under attack and need direction before fear speaks. Your action helps the message travel where it must go. Do not leave yet. Where this journey ends matters. Now, wherever you are, pray with me the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.